Hi everyone, this is Perfume Coast, so welcome to my channel. I continue talking about powdery scent profile, and specifically today I'll be talking about almondy powdery profile. So without further ado, let's just dive into the ocean of perfumes. And the first perfume I'd like to introduce to you is called Infusion d'Amande by the house Prada. And as always, let's take a quick look at the notes. So there is bitter almond, heliotrope, musk, tonka bean and anise in here, according to Fragrantica. So this perfume starts off as a very delicious, creamy and powdery scent. What's interesting here is that in winter this perfume comes across just a touch sweet, but without overly sweetness or gourmand vibe. However, in warmer season, it flourishes as a full-fledged gourmand that's not overly sweet, but definitely along the lines of almond cookie impression, for example. The scent is, however, rather linear, again, tones of creaminess, powderiness and nuttiness, and closer to the dry down, it gets ever so airy as well. I can also detect some doughy effects, and this dough here is sort of undercooked, a bit gooey, the likes of how middle of almond crumble may come across. Another thing to mention here is that this scent is extremely well blended, and whilst still very consistent with Prada's Infusion line, which is powdery DNA, it certainly stands out on its own, displaying this almond forward features. Next up along the same lines would be the brilliant release by the house Trussardi, and it's called Aperitivo Milanese Porta Nuova, belonging to the line called Levi di Milano. And of course the line is dedicated to the streets of Milan and the kind of experience that one may get there. Another popular fragrance I could mention from this line would be the one dedicated to the shops in Milan, specifically Vittorio Emanuele II, and the vibes of confectionery, the smell of confectionery shops and cafes that one can detect while one is progressing through the passages of this beautiful arcade shop. However, back to this fragrance, I have to say that it has quite similar profile to the previous one. However, the difference lies in how this one progresses. So it starts off with a lot more sharp and almondy opening. This almond is somewhat spicy and fresh, and closer to the dry down as it progresses, it gets smoother and a lot more alike with Prada release. So after the blending is done, somewhere closer to the dry down, I can detect booziness along the lines of Amaretto liquor, which is very popular in Italy, of course. And no surprises there, because the fragrance itself is dedicated to the Aperitivo drink, which we normally consume before meal. But what's interesting here is this Amaretto liquor impression is not the liquor itself, because the liquor itself is very dry, but it's rather Amaretto-based cocktail with a bit of milk and sweetness. Or another impression I could bring here is perhaps the one of milky tea with a bit of almond-based amaretto added. So, and of course, this is another popular way to serve this tea drink with a bit of amaretto liquor added. So in the deep dry down, it gets, creamier, and in the end it's this creamy, powdery, almondy concoction with a touch of booze and perhaps milky accord. And the final fragrance for today is the one that's quite different from the other two, and it's called Iris de Syracuse, and this is the release by the house Boucheron. And as always, let's take a quick look at the list of notes that Fragrantica is giving us here. So on the top we've got pear, pepper, mandarin orange. In the middle there's iris, heliotrope, jasmine, and finally in the base there's white musk, vanilla and patchouli. So this one again is quite different from the other two. Here you get opening that's bright, slightly sweetened almondy powder, Therefore, unlike the other two, this fragrance is not gourmand at all, but it rather goes into the cosmetic lipsticky direction. And in the end, it resembles sort of inside of your old cosmetic pouch where you store your compact and lipsticks. So this powder is quite interesting because whilst having all powdery features, it also has this juiciness to it. And good to note that instead of almond note, heliotrope is used here to create this almondy effect. But that's probably why it stands out from the other two that are more gourmandy and creamy. So in the dry down, you're dealing with a sort of powdery fruity juice, surprisingly. So the fruitiness may come from pear, of course, that's you know, a top note here. So it's your delectable scent and classy as well. So also good to mention that it comes at a very good price on discount shops, and I've seen this fragrance for as little as way under $100 for as much as 125 ml. But that's it, guys. This wraps up the video. If you liked this video, please give it a like. As always, please subscribe to the channel. Please give your comments. I'm curious. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.